Coming up, the Rational Response Squad takes on a theist.
On the line now is Nick Zatz, a friend of my buddy here, Rook Hawkins. And Nick, it's nice to have you on the show. How you doing, man?
Oh, not too bad, thanks. How about yourself?
Good. So, Rook, give me a little background here. We're calling Nick up, and we want to talk to him about, he believes in God right now?
I believe so, yes.
Is that right, Nick?
Absolutely.
Okay. And you've had discussions with him about theism?
Actually, he's the one that helped me on my way to becoming an atheist.
Oh, how ironic.
Isn't that not?
He actually helped you become an atheist.
Yeah, it is.
And yet he's a theist.
Yeah.
So how did he do that?
Nick and I went to high school together, Catholic high school.
Okay.
And,
wait, Nick is Jewish, but he went to a Catholic high school?
Yes.
Sucks to be Nick. What's up, Nick?
It was a pain.
Pretty sure my parents hate me.
Okay. All right.
They wanted me to learn how to deal early in life.
Okay.
So Nick and I were also in a band together, percussion line. He played drums, I played the drums. So we clicked pretty fast as friends.
Okay.
And
I was always better than him.
Yeah, he thinks so.
By the way.
And okay. Let's hear you do that long roll again, buddy.
All right, now, ladies.
Yeah. Drum off, coming to you live. Next episode of Rational Response Squad. We had eventually had the same theology class, second year there.
Okay.
And I was still Nick can vouch for the fact that I was very religious. I wanted to become a priest and everything. I remember him and I used to have conversations all the time about God. Like there were always points in which he and I believe very strongly in our faiths, and then there was a point in which we didn't believe at all. Like we just basically Nick always considered himself an agnostic theist, and there was a point where I got extremely religious, and then we always have conversations during lunch and stuff like that. And who was our, what was it, Father Baker? We always had the problems.
Father Baker.
There you go. This is the guy, if you want to imagine the epitome of lying priests.
Okay,
this is the one you want to think about.
Okay.
The guy who stood up in front of the class and pretty much told us that God works outside of time. I asked him where he got his information from, and he looked at me and laughed. So,
okay. And do you concur, Nick, that this Father Baker was a lying priest?
I don't know if I'd go so far as to call him a lying priest, but I would say that it seems as if maybe he was a little bit misinformed or intentionally misinforming us.
Right.
It was 6 years ago, so
it's such a long time ago.
Okay. All right. So, but at what point did he help you become an atheist?
Well, it was through our conversations. We were both going through this agnostic stage in our theism, and we both would sit there at lunchtime and just debate, talk about religion and discuss it. And when my dad and I had that discussion that one night, it was almost like snap. It's pretty much was where I set off and decided I was going to be an atheist.
So Nick was like the catalyst, and your dad was the nail in the coffin,
right?
And so Nick, what do you think happened, man? I mean, you went a little too far. You turned. You're still a theist, obviously. So you must feel that there's some sort of tenability behind believing in a God. Am I right? Or do you just take it all on faith, and you're making it up in your head, and that's just how it is?
No, I believe in God because I believe in God. Like Tom will attest that I've never at any point ever made the statement that I know there is a God. I believe in God because of personal experiences. I believe in God because I believe God has shown himself to me.
And can you give me an example on how?
Oh, just in small things. I mean, in so as all right. I'm not going to say it's not like the Mexican kid who saw Jesus in the tortilla chip a few years ago.
Okay.
Saw Mary.
Okay.
Like I've never seen the physical form of God, nor have I ever asked to, but I've always felt that there's been something with me.
Okay.
I've always felt that there's been something behind me, something on my side. And if I can't accredit to anything physical, then I have to credit to something metaphysical, and that's God.
Like what specifically, though? Like what has happened in your life that you need to credit a God to? That you can't credit, either coincidence or your own actions or somebody else's actions to?
I'm sorry, say that again. I didn't hear you.
Well, what types of things have happened in your life that you have to credit a God to that you can't credit, say, things like coincidence or your own personal actions leading to that, resulting action.
That's what I'm saying. Is I'm not saying it's because of physical incarnations of God. It's not because I didn't trip, so that must have been God looking out for me.
Okay.
It's because of a presence. It's because of something that I felt inside of me. Something that I
you feel God's presence inside of you.
If for nothing else, yes, I feel that there is something that walks with me. And if
what does
I
that
can't
feel
credit
like?
to anything else, what's that?
What does that feel like? How does that differ from other feelings? What does that feel like? Can you explain it at all?
It feels exactly like I said it feels. It feels as if there are times when there's something else inside of me, something that will keep me going. Not endorphins, not just personal will or drive, but something else, something that I can't explain. I understand that people believe in God because they have nothing else to believe in, or people believe in God because they don't understand what's going on. Never have I said that I was above either of those.
Mm-hmm. Now, are you perfectly able to admit that it's possible that that feeling comes in part because you've been brought up your entire life to believe that there is a God, and most of your interactions in your childhood and obviously through your Catholic schooling, you've been taught that there is a God, and so therefore a lot of that feeling is left inside of you. So then when you're feeling just natural things in life, you happen to attribute like a God quality to it because that's what you know?
Absolutely not, because my father is an atheist and my mother died when I was a kid. I grew up with an atheist.
Where's the Judaism come in?
My biological mother.
I see. Okay. All right. So your father was an atheist and he sent you to a Catholic school.
Right. My father sent me to a Catholic school not for any religious benefit, but basically because when I was a younger kid, I was screwing up and I was just kind of not on the track that I should have been on. My dad thought maybe the discipline of the Catholic school would help me, and he was kind of wrong.
I guess so. Now, my question for you, Nick, is this. You say that you have, a feeling of God. Are you aware of a scientific study done on the brain, which pretty much shows the area of a brain which is, quote-unquote, spiritual, and it's applied to anybody who has any sort of spiritual feeling or emotion? It comes from this section of the brain, and it's actually not so much hormones that release the feeling as much as it is stimulus or your senses.
I was not aware of this study, and I am open to it. There's a teaching, it's a phrase, and it's that Jews will always bow before science, and that if you can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is no God, true Jews will acknowledge that there is no God, but will continue with the rituals anyway. Is that study backed up by other studies?
I believe it is.
Is there any confirmation other than that singular study?
No, I'm pretty sure that this study is a proven attribute to science. As in, when I say that, I mean they published it after they did multiple studies. You can check it out. Actually, it's a neurological study done. I think MSNBC published it a few years ago. I mean, this study is a few years old, so it obviously has had more study done to it since then. But the initial findings were that it's like a spiritual portion of the brain that gets heightened, through your senses. So, like, if you're inside of a Baptist church and they're singing and praising God, and everyone around you's doing it, and everyone's happy and enjoying themselves, like your sensory input is picking that up, and you get something called like a spiritual enlightenment through your sensory input. Your body goes on overload. Okay, and that's why you feel like lifted up almost, or elated. It's because of this part of your brain that is overloaded with input. That's what the spiritual feelings come from.
Okay, well, the same could be said for any other sort of a feeling then, though. I mean,
oh, sure.
Love is based on endorphins as well. Is that to say that love doesn't exist?
No, of course not. But I'm not saying. See, this. I think you're getting confused with my point. Probably that's my fault for not stating it properly. My point is that every feeling that you get comes from inside of you. That feeling is real, okay? But what you're ascribing that feeling to doesn't necessarily have to exist. Like, love is a real feeling, okay? Everyone experiences that in their lifetime. However, okay, how we interact and perceive that feeling is different with each individual person. Okay, for example, someone who is a child molester, okay, they experience true love for their victims, okay, but they interact with that true love in a different way, as in, they want to express their love so much that they actually go as far as, sexual intercourse with these young children. They just don't realize the wrong in it, because to them, they're expressing their true feelings. They actually care for these individuals, okay?
But Tom, in most cases of pedophilia, that's not the case at all.
Well, it depends on what you're thinking.
I mean, that's a terrible example.
No, it's not. As a matter of fact, in most cases, the FBI recorded that people who have like a serial case, like they can't help themselves with pedophilia, is actually more or less because they care so much about their victims. They don't want to hurt them. They just end up doing it because they can't help themselves.
The flip side of that type of love argument, where somebody is, they claim to love somebody, but yet their actions don't show it, is that in normal love, relationships, you can judge love not by just the chemical reaction in your brain, but by the actions of that person.
Right.
That person treats you, the right way, and you can see that the person loves you. So you have evidence, in effect, that love exists within that relationship, but yet there is no evidence that you could present to us that is, scientific, falsifiable, and
verifiable.
What's the word I'm looking for? That it can be wholly viewed by all of us. That you don't need to be looking through a set of Jesus goggles or theist goggles in order to see the evidence. And there's a big difference there with love.
Yes, and you're absolutely right. Which brings me back to what I had said earlier, which is why I will never say that I know there is a God. Do I believe, in my heart of hearts, that there is a God? Yes, absolutely. Would I ever say that I know beyond a reasonable doubt that there is a God? Absolutely not, because I can't prove it to you.
Right. So what you're saying is, though, that it's okay to believe in things that you don't have proof for. I mean, I would have to ask you if you believe in the purple snarfwidget, which, in fact did create the universe, and the feeling that you are feeling when you feel God is the snarfwidget itself.
If the belief in the purple snarfwidget or whatever it is that somebody wants to believe in, if that helps make them a better person, if that makes them a happier person, then I have no problem with it. No matter what you want to call, if you want to say God, Allah, Jesus, or the purple snarfwidget, if something helps someone to be a better person, both inwardly and outwardly, towards better to themselves, better to those around them, then I have no problem with it. So yeah, absolutely. I see no problem in believing in something that you can't prove.
I agree. If something makes somebody a better person and it's harmless belief, then I don't think it's that big of a deal. But I'm curious, what do you say to the folks who believe in the purple snarfwidget because it makes them a better person, but yet there are a small sect of people who believe in the purple snarfwidget that are willing to legislate laws based on what the purple snarfwidget tells them to believe, which those laws would be in direct contradiction to, say, our American Constitution, or other people who are willing to fly helicopters into the Statue of Liberty and crash them in there and kill the people inside because that is how they believe the snarfwidget works with them. So there are some people who interact with the snarfwidget that have a positive effect on their life, and then there are others who have an extremely negative effect. And do you still think that folks should believe in that when we see that this negative effect exists?
Any form of religion or belief, there's obviously a certain amount that there's always going to be people who overinterpret things or who see things in a way that nobody else sees. As far as the true extremism, well, that's an issue of interpretation. The same could be said with anything. You guys are crusading against a belief in God. So if I finish this interview and go and burn down a church, then what is that?
Just for clarification, what we're crusading against are things that don't have evidence. In other words, if you came to me and said that that the sky is that there is a full solar eclipse happening right now and that the rapture is occurring, I would ask you for a little evidence for that. And if you tried to convince me that it was true by just telling me that you believed it was true inside your heart, I would still ask you to give me some evidence for that. It just so happens that God fits into one of those boxes. I mean, homeopathic medicine fits into that box as well. That's something that
we're crusading against as
yeah,
well.
so it's not just that we're, anti-God. It just so happens that, there is no reason to believe in a God, no good reason at least, no reason that compares to anything else you believe in. And, so therefore we don't understand why somebody would want to do it. If somebody, the flip side to your argument that you're willing to accept that it's possible a God doesn't exist, we are also willing to accept that it's possible that a God does exist. So, except nobody's provided that evidence yet. So, until that point, we'll remain without belief. We don't fully wholeheartedly know that there is no God.
Fair. But you still haven't really answered my question. You were saying, what if believers in the purple snarfwidget go in and crash a helicopter into the World Trade Center or whatever, and that is their reaction to a certain interpretation of dogma or of laws, of rules, of teachings that have been passed down from generation to generation to generation. So, and thus it is unacceptable, right?
Right.
And thus those teachings are unacceptable. So if I'm a representative of the Rational Response Squad and I go and I burn a church down or I start, vandalizing other people's property in the name of the crusade against whatever is unprovable,
okay, and
I'm doing truly unjust, evil things like killing other people, then what good is there in not believing in God?
Because nobody in the Rational Response Squad has done that, and nor would anybody in the Rational Response Squad be in the Rational Response Squad anymore.
I did it.
Let me answer that.
Go ahead.
Okay. What the Rational Response Squad is doing, okay, and what we prescribe in our weekly shows to all of our listeners is the ability to look at a situation and determine whether it makes sense or not by calculating, if such and such equals X or if it equals nothing. Okay. And, the variable X is what we're really trying to get at here. So when you ask, if listening to our show, if in the name of everything reasonable, you're going out there and you are, destroying property because you don't agree. Well, the thing is, Nick, is that would not be doing what we are talking about. You are not listening to our show. You are doing something on your own. And further, on that point, atheism is not a coalition or an organization or a religion. So there is no set doctrine to be an atheist or to be a reasonable thinker, okay? What you are doing, okay, is you're trying to put us into a category where belief and faith come into play, where it affects millions and millions of people, where as a free thinker, you have the ability to judge for yourself.
Tom, I'm not talking about free thinkers, and I'm not talking about atheists. I'm using your specific group, what you guys, as a contrary example.
Okay.
Yes, there were horrible things done in the name of God, and there are still, and you know what? There always will be. Islam and Christianity are both based on Judaism, correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
In the Torah, it says very explicitly, several times through, that to be a true Jew, you have to do what's called mitzvot. Mitzvot is a good action. Mitzvot is not a fight for God. It is not combating those things that are against God. Mitzvot, to do mitzvot is to act favorably towards other people. And if you don't do those things, if you don't give to charity, and if you don't hold doors, if you don't treat people respectfully, then you're not truly Jewish. And if you're not truly Jewish, then you're not truly Christian. You're not truly, Islamic. If you can't base your faith in that initial thing. So yeah, these people who went out and they killed people in the name of Christ, they killed people in the name of Allah, they're not true members of their faith.
It also says very explicitly that we should stone our children who disobey us.
Okay, yeah, and you know what? 50 years ago, you were allowed to beat your children for disobeying you.
But
that's the belief.
I'm not legally allowed to stone my son to death anymore, nor was I allowed to 60 years ago. In fact, not only was it stone my son to death, but I was actually supposed to take him to City Hall and call out for the people of the city to come out and stone my son to death with the town. And how you could turn around and say, well, some people might interpret the Bible in their own way, and that they're misinterpreting it. It's you that is misinterpreting it. It is you that is not, condoning stoning your children to death in a public square. Where is your outrage at our government for not allowing that type of action, which is explicitly stated in the Bible as law?
Where does God say to stone your children?
Do you want me to
Deuteronomy 21 and Leviticus.
What does it say?
I'll tell you what. Let me pull it up for you right now. You guys,
Please,
let me ask you, while he's doing that, in the studio, we just had my buddy Razorcade popped in. Razor, why don't you pop your mic on, buddy? Razor, this is Nick, a friend of Rook's.
How you doing, Nick?
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
Razor's helping us out here for a little bit while one of our partners Mike isn't able to show up.
Real fast, yeah, I'm just going to clear this out. If a man have a stubborn, rebellious son, which will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, all the men of the city shall stone him with stones, that he die. Deuteronomy 21:18, 21.
And that's just one law.
That's just one. And the fact
you're not supposed to. What is it? You're not supposed to eat shellfish.
Yeah,
and
yet
they do that.
If you're homosexual, you're supposed to die. You're supposed to kill them for that. Women wearing men's clothing, you're supposed to kill them.
Supposed to sell off your daughter into slavery.
Let me bring up all. Let me bring.
Well, it goes on and on. I mean,
it's disgusting. And to say, the person who does one of these things is misinterpreting the Bible is actually it's you that is misinterpreting the Bible.
Right.
Let me ask you a question though. While Rook pulls up a couple more, pieces there.
Okay.
You claim that your belief is founded mostly in feelings within inside of you, and I'm curious how these feelings also seem to be like telepathic in the sense that they are able to pick out not only that a God is real, but that a God that created the earth in 7 days and formed the light and created darkness and then created Adam and Eve and then put them in the Garden of Eden and then made them pick from a tree, decide whether or not that they were going to eat from a tree. He knew ahead of time that they were going to eat from the tree, but yet told them that not to eat from the tree, even though he knew, within 24 hours they would eat from the tree. I mean, how does the feelings inside of you, this feeling that a God is real, how does it also interpret that specific God is real? That's why I asked you about the snarfwidget, because it's hard for me to believe that your feeling inside can, look at 1,300 pages of the Bible and say, well, this is the God that is real. I mean, you should be Muslim maybe, or Zoroastrian.
Well, the question would be, why is God geographical?
Well, that's actually a different question.
No, it's the same question. Why?
That's a product of where we're born.
Why are you not born in Iraq and believe in the Christian God?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's the whole thing. It's about where you live.
Exactly. Your God belief, when I mentioned to you before that your God belief is based on what you know, you kind of rejected that in a sense because you were like, well, my dad's an atheist and my mother died when I was young. But in fact is you went to a Catholic school, your mother was Jewish, and those are the gods that is the God you know. Yet you don't have a literal belief in Dionysus from the feeling in your heart that a God exists. And the question is, why?
I believe in the God that I believe in, and you are partially right because that's the exposure that I've had. But I also believe, I believe that overall, all deities, all given names for God, all identities, all pictures of God, they're all references to the same thing. I don't believe that that people who are Islamic worship a different God than I do. They have a different name for him. Jews have hundreds of names for God.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Including jealous.
You want to talk about
including jealous,
like biblical law and stuff like that. Like Judaism. One of the things that goes in, are you familiar at all with the more metaphysical side of Judaism? Like everything is a metaphor for something else, as far as the Jewish scripture goes. At one point, we are told that we are supposed to refer to God as Ishi, I-S-H-I, Ishi, because Ishi, loosely translated through Hebrew, means my husband. Israel is supposed to be the wife of God. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
There's metaphor all throughout the Old Testament. So why one name versus you want to talk about geographical religion? You're absolutely right. God is all over the place, and it's what you're told is the name and the aspect of God.
Exactly, and so that's what I'm saying. You now you admit that your specific God belief is what you are told, but how come this feeling has translated into that specific God belief?
In Yahweh.
And why not another one? You can claim if you want to make it easier and more palatable that all versions of God are basically the same God. But you ask a fundamentalist Muslim if his God is the same God as yours, and he's going to put a knife through your head and scream Allah Akbar. Okay. So, I mean, it just doesn't jive. And more specifically, like Dionysus or Zoroaster or Mithraism, where, that's where, the myth of Jesus was stolen from, basically.
Right.
And they laugh at Christians who think that their version of God is, existed in a vacuum and was solely and created by itself.
It was like a patent, basically. They feel like
exactly.
a patent on it. But I found some more verses for you here I thought you might want to listen to, Nick. The Leviticus 29 is, "For everyone that curseth his father or his mother shall be surely put to death. He hath cursed his family and his mother. His blood shall be upon him." Like, can we try spanking first? I don't know. I always thought that.
Let me throw one at you before you get another one in. Exodus 21:7 is in reference to a man that has sold his daughter as a slave. Of course, that's a great quality there, and I don't want to misinterpret. Of course, let me read it directly. "If a man sells his daughter as a slave, the rules for setting her free are different from the rules for setting the male slaves free." So, okay. I mean, I won't even read on, but the gist is, you can sell your daughter as a slave. Also, the rules are different. I wonder why the rules are different. Probably because we treat women differently.
Probably.
So, go ahead, read them.
Okay. How about
Bible study with the rational response?
So how about here's one. Let me see here. The intolerance. Let's go to the intolerance right away, because I think this is really big. Most people don't realize how intolerant the Bible is, especially the Old Testament, because God is very, very, very jealous and likes people having attention onto him, which is very, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Megalomaniacal.
I am a vengeful God.
Well, right. Well, but there's very anthropomorphic traits. So let's see here. All nations shall be terrorized by the followers of Yahweh. That's in Deuteronomy 2:25. If you worship the wrong God, God will get jealous and kill you, Deuteronomy 6:15. And God will kill those who hate him, Deuteronomy 7:10. And after all that, we are commanded by God to kill those of other faiths in Deuteronomy 12:30 and Deuteronomy 17:2-7. Let's see, what's this one here?
It's hard to misinterpret these, though.
Yeah. And of course, if your brother, son, daughter, wife, or friend tries to get you to worship another god, thou shalt surely kill him. Thine hand shall be first upon him to put him to death. Deuteronomy 13:6-10.
The point is, though, can you condone, okay, and back to the whole point, can you condone a belief, all right, that you'll interpret in your way so that it's good, okay, and that it betters your life, but somebody else will interpret as it's written, all right, and yet you claim that they're misinterpreting, but yet when you look at it, they're going to interpret as it's written, and it makes them a worse person. Can you condone that belief?
Well, again, I think all biblical belief is up to interpretation. I don't necessarily endorse violence against other people, but there are look at the Bible on a whole.
Well, do you really believe in that God if you don't endorse it?
I believe that any kind of biblical or scriptural belief is open to interpretation, and there's think about how many versions of the Christian, the Catholic Bible alone there are. Think about how many versions there have been over the time, and think about how long it took for the Bible to be written. Those stories are all passed down from generation to generation through what's called oral tradition. I'm sure you know about oral tradition, right?
Of course.
Yeah, I have oral tradition with my girl all the time.
Nice. Way to go.
Continue, Nick.
But they're passed down through through oral tradition over generations, and then at one point it was written down. So it's whispered down the alley. There's all sorts of interpretation that's been going on hundreds and hundreds of years before Gutenberg's printing press started mass producing these things.
Sure.
There's interpretation to be open or for everything. There is personal interpretation. I acknowledge that. You can interpret it as it's read. Do I believe that you should kill those who blaspheme, who speak out against God? No. I hang out with Rook.
Right. And but what you're doing is you're cherry picking. It's what they call cherry picking.
I call it cafeteria Christian.
What you're doing is
why do they get to do that? Why do they all do that?
Well, this was law. I mean, this was law. Right? If you didn't follow these laws during the time of the first, you
were like
century,
beheaded. You were a heretic.
There was
you were basically an atheist.
This was carried out almost daily
Yeah.
And like the only reason why we are past that now is because we're smart enough to realize that this is bullshit. I mean, you can't just go around killing people because they disobey you.
But we still hold on to the belief.
No, exactly. We cling on to it like it's somehow like we need that feeling that something's there, but we're still ascribing to a faith which we know is as intolerant and unjust as this is. And it's funny because Nick, you're saying that do I think all this oral tradition stuff? Well, that's right. It is based on all oral tradition, which is even more reason why we should not follow it. It's so invalid. It's so unverifiable that everything we're being told about this belief, this faith, is just preposterous. I mean, you have no idea. You've never seen the original copies of the book, so you don't know what was really said. No one's ever seen the original copy, so they can't tell you what was really said. So when it comes down to it, I mean, what you're telling us is we should believe it just because you have this feeling in your heart, but no one can actually come up with a reason why we should believe in this garbage.
Nick, I was just wondering if you considered yourself like when you were born, would you consider yourself atheistic when you were born? You had no belief in God, or were not aware of or without a God, to use my definition anyway.
Well, I don't know. It's tough to answer that question. I mean, yeah, at birth and for the first couple of years, you're not exactly sentient. You don't really have any, you don't have a concept of self-being, and thus you can't really grasp anything else. So, was I without God? Not necessarily, but was I aware of God? Absolutely not.
Okay, so then what happens with I and my family is religious, so and I was raised in a Catholic household. You're taught these concepts by your family, correct?
Well, no. Again, I wasn't taught religion by my family. I was raised by an atheist father.
Well, he wasn't here for the beginning. But
I'm sorry, I missed the beginning.
But to be fair, you were also actually his story is a little similar to you because Rich has a daughter that goes to a Catholic school, and yet he's atheist himself. But to be fair, I believe you said something about your mother was religious, and it happened to die early in your life. Sorry about that.
I mean, he must have religious influences in his family of some sort. And if not, he's still in a country. I assume he lives in this country.
Yeah.
He's got religious influences everywhere. Correct?
Yeah.
All right.
What's that? Yeah.
Well, the point is you have religious.
I mean, of course, there is a religious influence on everybody. I mean, that's welcome to America.
No, I mean what I was kind of getting at was this religion back in the day was started by men of your or similar intellects. So why would you assume that they knew any more than you do? Why would you use them as an authority?
How have I necessarily used them as an authority? I've used that as the closest indicator to what I can call God.
But it was written by someone with your same intellect.
Actually, I think you're insulting our guest right now.
No,
what do you mean by that? you call my religion
what I'm saying is that you're a human, they were human. Why would they know any more than you do about the world? I mean, obviously the world's changed, yes. I mean, you know a little more now because we're a more modern society.
They did. I never said that these men knew any more than I did. I've said throughout the show, religion, Judaism especially, is left up to interpretation in many cases. Moreover, there's metaphor throughout the entire Old Testament. Moreover, I've never stated that my God and my religion is the only way. It's what appeals to me, and it's what I choose to believe in. Never would I enforce my religion on you. Never would I say that you were wrong for not believing in God.
No.
Don't come to me
I
as
understand.
if I've come to you in such a way as to try and belittle you for not believing in God.
I am not belittling you.
I believe in God because I believe in God. I don't know He exists.
Yeah, he didn't mean to.
No, I didn't mean it that way. I asked this question of my family too. Because I'm trying to understand, basically. So don't take it, as an insult or nothing like that.
Yeah, I mean,
I just like the question,
I mean, the gist is,
I try to understand. I try to understand why people feel this way. How this happened. That kind of thing. So,
in that there is nothing wrong. Like I had said earlier, you weren't in the room, I don't believe, but Judaism, one of the tenets of Judaism is study. It's a constant quest for knowledge. To not believe in God because you don't understand God, I see nothing wrong with. I have no problem with those who don't believe in God. My problem lies in those who intentionally and maliciously try to debunk other people's faith based on their belief.
You mean people who believe in things without evidence?
I'm sorry?
Well,
I know. I have no problem in people believing in things without evidence. I also have no
You have
problem
no problem with that?
who don't believe in certain... Hang on. Who don't believe in things because they have no evidence. You guys, there's no concrete physical evidence for belief in God. I admit that. And so when you say you don't believe in God because of that, I have no issue. I understand. I believe in God because it's a personal matter of faith.
Right.
My issue again lies with people who, I had said earlier that if belief in something makes somebody a better person, then I'm all for it. Apparently, you guys aren't.
Well, we're for it if it actually does that and then doesn't have negative effects elsewhere.
See, the thing is, like, you can have...
But it does.
You can have belief, okay? Like, I don't claim that I don't have any beliefs. I have beliefs, sure. I believe that, tomorrow I'm going to, wake up and get out of bed,
The sun's going to come up.
Right, the sun's going to come up, You have some, like, affirmative beliefs in your life that you can verify, okay? Having a belief in something doesn't necessarily have to do with, religion, okay? But, the problem is when religion comes into play, from what I've always found is that there's always a negative effect. There's always a negative effect because there's always people in power who are telling you what to believe and how to believe it. So, I mean, having a belief isn't a bad thing. I don't think having a belief is a bad thing. I go out with a Christian. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, with having a belief. The
problem lies in, we can claim that we don't have any problem with people who believe certain things, and I don't have any problem with people who believe things that make them a better person. But I do have problems in people believing in things that make them a better person, but make other people worse people, because especially when those things are beliefs that there are no evidence to back. Okay. I guess I'm okay if there's scientific evidence. For example, there's scientific evidence to back evolution. Okay. So now
right. And I acknowledge evolution.
Okay.
I believe in evolution.
Now, it doesn't necessarily make me a better person, but for a proper analogy, let's say that believing in evolution, in fact, yeah, let me make that case. Let me make the case that an evolution makes me a better person because I believe that we're all related. So since I believe that we're all related, I try to treat others more respectfully than I would if other people were like not part of my family. And so therefore, if we now say, well, there's people on Earth that evolution belief makes them worse people, I wouldn't care because I have scientific evidence behind my belief. What I do have a problem with is people who believe in a God that there's no evidence for. It makes them a better person, but it makes a good portion of the population worse people in many different ways. Whether it be that they, decide that they want to legislate on abortion, for example, based on their own particular belief, and yet it seems to be unconstitutional to tell a woman what she can or can't do with her body, or that you would apply false science to say that a cell is a living, breathing human, because that's part of your belief system, that you've been taught that from a preacher. And so what I'm saying is that the person who makes their life a better person, you seem to be a good guy, and obviously if you're a friend of Rook's, you've got to be a pretty good guy. So it makes you a better person, but yet to the other person who it makes them a worse person, you appear to be condoning their actions to them. You appear to be a part of the system that says to them, it's okay to believe this, and that's where my issue lies. If you realized that you were actually helping fundamentalist terrorism in your belief, and I know that's a stretch and it would take hours to put you there, but if you believe,
that's like saying kids who buy weed support Al Qaeda. So we're not going to get into that.
No, it's not. That's something different. I mean, that there could be a link there too as well. But I mean, if kids who buy
right, but the link is tenuous.
Kids who buy opium, they help support Al Qaeda. Okay, but the point is that if you knew that your beliefs were condoning those fundamentalist terrorism, or even I wonder how you feel about the fact that your beliefs help condone abortion bans in this country, the dwindling rights of homosexuals in this country, or the alienation of homosexuals in this country. I mean, those two factors alone they're disgusting. They're not Christ-like in any way, or mitzvah, like doing good things for others. Okay, and that's what you're condoning.
Never mind the fact that a healthy portion of the Jewish community are actually, active Democrats, but okay.
No, I agree. I mean, in fact, and that's why most of the time you're actually the first Jew to come on our show. I mean, most of the time, the problem lies in Christianity and what's spouted in the churches. I mean, my family's Jewish,
right there. And hold on, and therein lies your difference. Christianity, and it says very explicitly in the New Testament to believe with childlike faith. You guys will agree with me on that, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says to believe in me with childlike faith, completely blind faith. Whereas on the other hand, Judaism says that life and belief in God is an eternal quest, an eternal search for knowledge, and that, like I had said earlier, true Jews will always bow first to science. If God can be literally, if you could debunk God 110%, if you could prove to me that there is, without a shadow of a doubt, without a shred of contradictory evidence at all, that there was no God, it would be my obligation as a good Jew to stop believing in God.
You realize the burden of proof is on the person who has the extraordinary claim.
Can't prove a negative.
The burden of proof lies on you to prove that this God exists. I understand completely what you're saying.
Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not trying to prove God to you.
Right. No, he's just saying that if science could come up with a way to disprove God, that he would have to bow to that.
But what do you need to disprove God? Your version of God, claims that the earth was created in 7 days. Okay? Well, that's not how the earth was created. We have evidence for that. So there you go. God disproven.
That was people thousands of years ago trying to explain how we got there the best they could.
Okay,
so wait a sec. So isn't then the concept of God possibly just pure metaphor for the Big Bang?
The concept of God absolutely is. There's an absolute possibility of pure metaphor in God. That's why I've said for the 100th time that I would never say I know there is a God.
Right. Well, let me.
I've said this again and again and again.
How do you discount that the specific parts of the Bible as pure metaphor, but then when we talk about God himself, he's possibly pure metaphor, but you actually have a belief in him? Why don't you actually have a belief that the fact the earth was created in 7 days?
I'm sorry, can you restate that question?
How do you know that the earth was created in 7 days is metaphor, and that God, exists, and that that's not a metaphor, but it could possibly be a metaphor? How do you make that distinction?
No. That's why I don't know.
Okay, so wait,
I believe there's faith.
Okay, let's.
So you act as if it's,
and there is a difference.
But you act as if there's a greater likelihood that it's real than it isn't.
Yeah, I believe because of my life, because of my personal experiences, because of the way I feel day to day, I believe that there is a God. Because of the evidence that I've been shown throughout my life on the time that it takes to create anything on the track of evolution that humanity has taken, I do not believe that the universe was created in 7 days.
Right.
So, in other words, the Bible's wrong.
It's a story. If you want to look at it as being pure fact, then yeah, the creation story is wrong. But the creation story isn't there to be an exact play-by-play, definition and retelling of how this universe was created.
The fourth word in the creation story
is there because it's a story.
The fourth word in the creation story is God. Is that just part of the story?
I'm sorry, the fourth word is God?
I'm reading the fourth word of the Bible. It's God. It's part of the creation story. The story that I'm quoting you. It's the story.
Right.
Is God just part of the story?
The story is that God created the earth and the universe in 7 days. If you believe in this story, if you give this story any sort of play, then yeah, God is a part of it. That doesn't necessarily falsify God.
All right.
You can put my name into a lie. Does that mean that I'm not real?
Oh, but you can also put a lie into a place. Does that mean that lie is real? I mean, we can go tit for tat on this, but when it comes down to it, the burden of proof lies on he who alleges. And I'm not saying that you are making a positive claim here although you are a little bit, that doesn't necessarily mean that what Brian's saying is in any way invalid. I mean, you're claiming that the first story in the Bible, the first book of Genesis, is as a story. So why can't God? I mean, you already admitted that it can happen, but the fact that God is a story is just a metaphor. Why are you giving him more credit than the story? Is what we're asking. Like,
because I've been given more reasons throughout my life, throughout my personal experience, to give God that credit. I build houses for a living, okay?
Right.
It takes months to build one house. That's why I don't believe that God could have created the universe in 7 days. There's an example.
All right, Nick, we are going to give you the final word there. We've got to head on to another interview right now. If you want, we'll get you back on the show at a later date.
Sure, that'd be fun.
If you still like us.
If I still like you?
Yeah.
I guess we can be friends.
Okay.
Yeah, we're all good people here.
Except for me, I'm not.
All right, man. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yep.
It was nice talking to you. We'll talk to you later, man. Bye.
All right, peace. So, as my friend Nick, I'm glad he could join us today. He's a really good guy. And so, Brian.
What's up, man?
I'm thinking we need to add a little bit more to this show.
Okay. What are we going to do?
Remember that, unfortunately, Mike isn't with us today, but maybe we can add him in with a segment of Crazy Ignorant Lying.
Yeah, I do have some Crazy Ignorant Lying segments that we could play.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely. Want me to go to that right now?
Let's do that.
All right, buddy. Once again, folks, coming up is a segment of Crazy Ignorant or Lying. This was pre-recorded, and that is how we have Mike in it with us. Thanks a lot.
This is Ray Comfort, and you're listening to the Rational Response Squad.
With us on the line now is Louis Rapucci. Lou is the host of a little game show we like to play here called Crazy Ignorant or Lying.
I love this game.
This is awesome.
You visit his website at myspace.com, Louis_Rapucci, and that's LOUIS_REPUCCI. And Lou, how's it going, buddy?
Going great. Hey, good to talk to you guys again.
Could you explain the game a little bit, Crazy Ignorant or Lying?
No problem. Absolutely, Brian. All right. We play this game called Crazy Ignorant or Lying on, it started on Free Thought Forum on MySpace. And the way it works is, within the context of Christianity, we take famous or notable people and classify them as either crazy, which would be having full knowledge of the Bible and its context and history, yet believing it, ignorant, believing, basically blind belief, believing the Bible blindly and having really no information about the background, how the book was written or compiled, or honestly, most of the time, not even reading it. And lying, which would be full well understanding both the context of the Bible and the fact that it is a load of crap, but exploiting it and exploiting its believers for personal benefit. It's a good time. I definitely suggest it for cocktails and drinks with friends at home.
Yeah, specifically Christian ones. It's a great game.
Yeah. The harder core, the better.
I want to say Hail Marys this time, though, okay?
Yeah, well, so what we're going to do, guys, is the loser says 5 Hail Marys, and
The second place loser says 2 or 3.
Second place says you'd have to do 3.
Yeah.
Great.
so, of course, in the event of a tie, we just both kick ass.
No,
Hold on,
both lose.
hold on. I'm going to check with God if he agrees. Hang on. If that's the right.
Yeah.
Hey! Well, no, you got to yell loud. There's a lot of people. You want to hear? Hold on. God! Yeah! All right, yeah, he says okay. Well, no, I mean that's the whole thing. Like, if you have more than one person pray, it works better. If you just have one person pray really loudly, it's the same effect, right?
Hold on one sec. Hey, God, are you sure?
What's that, God? Lose 4, shit!
Oh, he's a joker.
I think we just woke up the entire neighborhood.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
lot later where you guys are than where I am.
Yeah, they're fine.
All right.
They're doing the same thing right now.
Yeah, yelling at God.
All right, so let's play Crazy Ignorant or Lying with our friend Lou Rapucci.
All right, guys, here's how this is going to work. I'm going to give you my 3 names. You guys go ahead and figure out who's crazy, who's ignorant, and who's lying. Then I'm going to give you some quotes, some hints, some clues, background information, and you guys will have a chance to adjust your guesses, and then we'll see who's right and who has to do Hail Marys.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Number 1, George W. Bush. Crazy, ignorant, or lying.
Which one to pick?
Well, this is actually a hot button issue with us here at the squad.
Yeah.
Can one pick all three? This is what I always ask.
Yeah, that's what makes it not easy. The fact that you can't pick all 3. All right, number 2 tonight is good old Dr. Dino, Kent Hovind.
Kent Hovind.
Oh,
Oh, man.
Shit, you
Crazy,
just
ignorant,
screwed
or
mine
lying.
up. I had put lying for both. God darn it.
Which one do you pick?
And number 3 tonight is Kanye West, rapper Kanye West.
Yeah, Kanye, well, it depends what we're talking about. We're talking about the song Jesus Walks, or we depend on when he says, George Bush hates black people, because that's true.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, I'm confident in my answers here.
All right.
Yeah?
I'm drawing
lost.
a blank. I'm
I don't
ignorant,
know.
really.
Yeah.
Just put me in there as ignorant.
Yeah. Brian Sapient.
Yeah,
All right.
ignorant.
Well, all right, here's my picks.
Wait. Don't taint us.
Okay.
We have to come up with something before we can adjust. So we have to come up with something.
Now remember, this is within the context of their faith, not necessarily within the context of their profession or
Ooh.
greater life. Within the context of their faith.
Whoa. Okay. Well, that made it very clear. That made it clear. Okay. All right. So I got. What do you got, Mike?
Well, he just said that. I might have to change him now.
Okay. Well,
But,
then I'll give
but,
mine.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
But I'll still give my original picks. I have that W is lying.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Dr. D is ignorant. And Kanye is crazy.
Okay. I just have Bush and Dino switch. So I have Bush as ignorant, Dino is lying, and Kanye West is crazy.
I have the same.
Okay.
You have the same. So Rook and I match.
Okay.
Oh, at least we all have Kanye West on crazy.
All right. Let's see if I can shed some light on this. All right, here's some great George Bush quotes. I'm sure, once again, you guys know quite a few of these.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I look forward to these. These are great.
These are the best.
Oh, and there's pages. I mean, how do you pick one? It's great.
Yeah, they
it's
make
like
you feel
watching
so
the
good
31
inside, too.
Flavors With $50. All right, here we go. I don't see how you can be president, at least from my perspective, how you can be president without a relationship with the Lord. Okay. I feel that God wants me to be run for president. I can't explain it, but I sense my country is going to need me. Something's going to happen. And I know it won't be easy on me or my family, but God wants me to do it. And then I've got a great, from a Hard Says reporter, Bush talking to the Palestinian Authority Prime Minister Abu Mazen when he was still the Palestinian Authority Prime Minister. God told me to strike at Al-Qaeda, and I struck them. And then he instructed me to strike at Saddam, which I did. And now I'm determined to solve the problem in the Middle East. If you help me, I will act. And if not, the elections will come, and I will have to focus on them. And let's do one more.
Yeah, it just messed me up
George
again.
Bush talking to the National Security Council. I'm the commander, see? I don't need to explain why I say things. That's the interesting thing about being the president. I don't feel I owe anyone an explanation.
Yeah, I have to change my answer here.
What a dick.
I have to.
And I got one more great Bush one. I don't think witchcraft is a religion. I don't think it is any way appropriate for the U.S. military to promote it. Talking about the fact that you can actually put Wiccan as your religion when you join the military. And those are my George Bush quotes, so have fun with that.
Yeah, you just messed me up. Okay, go ahead, Dr. Dino.
All right, good old Kent Hovind. I found an interesting couple of transcripts, and if I can give a website, if you go to students.washington.edu/tilda/LINDA-HOVIND, which is Linda Hovind.
All right, why don't you go ahead and go back a little bit? www.students.washington.edu.
.washington.edu/tilda.
TILDA?
No, tilde.
No,
the
an
little
actual
squiggly
tilde.
line.
So-
Oh, okay. Yes, exactly. Okay.
CKTHOMPS.
What was that again?
CKTHOMPS. It's CK Tomps.
Okay.
/ and then at the end of that, you can either put in lindahovind.html or kenthovind.html. And you should pull up transcripts
Oh, shit.
of a lecture that Dr. Dino gave to some Russian immigrants in Seattle. And he tells them during this lecture that the government's mandatory vaccination program was concocted by Satan to deliberately kill American school children.
Jesus.
Which is great. Ken Hovind has also been known to encourage his audience to read the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, which is a anti-Semitic, totally discredited forgery of a book. He actively solicits people who criticize him and sends them angry emails, and then will not back up any of his claims.
Oh, wait a sec. Hold up. Ken Hovind, I just want you to know that you are a crazy douchebag.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Please send me email so I can broadcast it.
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah, and actually, it's funny because you get into the Christian community, and none of them agree with each other.
No.
And specifically in Hovind's case, the Christian Research Institute in California, CRI, has spoken out against his stance that God wrote the gospel message for Adam in the stars and for Noah in stone, specifically. So the Christian Research Institute of California also agrees with you that Dr. Hovind is in fact a douchebag. Ken Hovind has gotten into the prophecy business. Years ago, he stated that the New World Order was going to reduce the Earth's population to about 500 million by May 5th, 2000. The same source that I got that from also told me that he listed the members of the New World Order, including Ted Turner, his new staff at CNN, Jane Fonda, Hanoi Jane, the ACLU,
Did you say OJ?
the IRS, Prince Charles, Planned Parenthood, and the Freemasons.
Wow.
Oh, and the staff at National Geographic magazine, he actively calls National Pornographic magazine
National Pornographic.
because it includes photos of indigenous
Oh
tribes.
yeah, they got some nice saggy titties in
Booby
there.
action
You
going
know
on
what?
there.
I actually heard that there was an error there, and the 2 was a little bit smudged, and it was supposed to be the year 3000 that would
What
happen.
happened is my little one, who loves the Bible, you know how much they love the Bible, got into the den where they keep the Bible.
Right,
and,
smudged it a little bit.
had a little peanut butter and smudged it through. So another 1,000 years of fundraising.
Yes.
All right, cool.
Awesome.
A little kudos there to David Cross.
If
Thanks for staving off that apocalypse.
Jesus wasn't Jesus, he'd be Jesus. All right, and
Kanye West.
for our final contestant, Kanye West, besides being fairly talented and a fairly outspoken Catholic, has depicted himself as Jesus on the cover of Rolling Stone, which according to the Bible is specifically blasphemy, and has claimed that he's spreading the Christian message, he's spreading Jesus' message through his music.
Mhm.
So there's no reason anyone should have any beef with him. If you listen to the lyrics of Jesus Walks, or even the song School Spirit, where he talks about his rosary and that's his Catholic style, just pop in either one of the Kanye West albums and listen to him, and he speaks for himself on several tracks. So that's all I have to say about him. All right, guys, do you have adjustments to make?
I've made one.
I've made it too.
You've made one?
I'm totally lost on this, and I'm just going to stick. So go ahead, Mike. What do you got?
Okay.
All right.
I had W as lying. I kept him as lying. I had Hovind as ignorant. I've now switched him to crazy. And I had West as crazy. I've switched him to ignorant. So I have W lying, Hovind crazy, West ignorant.
Well, I want to go on record as saying I think Mike is right, but go ahead, Rook. What do you got?
That might be the case. I have Bush as crazy, Kanye West as ignorant, and Hovind as lying.
All right. And did you have Kanye West as what?
Ignorant.
Okay, so we're all different again. I have Bush is ignorant, Dino is lying, and Kanye West is crazy.
Okay, drum roll. Rook's right.
Rook,
Rook is right.
Oh.
George
Wow.
W. Bush is crazy. Again, remember, this is with respect to his supposed faith in
Exactly. Yeah.
Christianity. He's crazy. He's totally whacked out. He's out of left field. Dr. Dino Kent Hovind understands the rules of logic and knows the Bible, but actively works around, and uses specious arguments and screws with people's heads to exploit them. So he's lying.
Right.
And Kanye West is completely ignorant. He doesn't understand even the basic precepts of Christianity, let alone the spirit of it. If he did, he wouldn't be a billionaire rap star talking about some of the things he likes to do, like on tracks like Celebration. Not that there's anything wrong with any of that. He's just a complete hypocrite. You can't have one track on your album talking about Jesus walk with me because the devil's trying to drag me down, and then openly admit to actively indulging in everything Christianity stands against.
Right.
So he's ignorant. He doesn't understand Christianity.
How many did you have right, Mike?
I got one.
You got one on that one?
Yeah. If you get one wrong, you get two wrong. So, well, there's only three options. So if you get one incorrect, you've automatically got two of them incorrect, unless you put.
There are those powers of deduction.
Yeah. Unless you put the same answer twice.
He is a scientist.
So, well, how do we determine? So we both tied for a loss.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. That's always going to happen. I should have caught that earlier. There's never going to be a second place unless there's a tiebreaker.
Right. Well, we can run tiebreaker right now.
Let's do
Yeah,
it.
sure. Let's run
All right.
tiebreaker.
All right. You're on, Sapient.
I'm going to give you a quote, and you tell me which televangelist said this.
Oh, okay.
Which is this? Is this Robertson, Falwell, or Hinn? Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Robertson, Falwell, or Hinn?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Many of the people involved with Adolf Hitler were Satanists. Many of them were homosexuals. Those two things seem to go together. Was that Pat Robertson, Jerry Falwell, or Benny Hinn?
What do you got?
I got Robertson.
I got Robertson too.
We got to go to sudden death.
Did we both get it right or both get it wrong?
You guys both got it right.
Okay.
I know.
All right.
You know what?
We
I
know our
hereby
televangelist.
I hereby absolve you of your sins.
Oh,
So,
thank you,
Hail
Father.
Marys tonight.
Yeah. Why don't we just? Yeah. Well, yeah. We're just tied for kings. We're both.
There you go.
We're both incredible.
All right, that was a
And
great
Rook,
game.
Once again, congratulations. You got it all right.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate
Oh,
that.
no problem.
Thanks a lot for joining us on this episode of the Rational Response Squad, Lewis.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I always love when you come on. This is great fun.
This is great fun.
Hey, guys, I appreciate it. And like I said, if anyone out there is bored, go ahead and check out my MySpace. I'm on pretty much every Christian group and most of the atheist groups, too. Write some funny stuff on my blogs. Come by, leave a comment.
And let's give Melody a plug too. This game originated, or you originated this game on the Free Thought Forum, which is Melody's board, correct?
Hey, absolutely. It's run by Melody, a lovely young lady, out your guys' way, actually, on the East Coast. But just search Free Thought Forum in groups on MySpace, and you'll definitely find it.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're an idiot, don't show up to her forum, please, because you'll ruin the group. It's a good group.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
please don't. We're
If you happen to be an idiot, I can guide you to where you want to go. You want to search hardcore Christians in groups, and you'll find a perfect group for you.
You're an
that's
evil
true.
man. I
Yeah.
love
Actually, Sapient has an alternate ego on MySpace. He actually posts as a young man named Chisel21. So if you see anything by him, that's actually Sapient. But
I'm really good at banning myself.
that's amazing. I don't know how you do that. That's theologically impossible.
Yeah, well, no, I
The moderator
do it.
can ban himself.
I've actually done that on the IG boards before.
You banned yourself on IG?
Yeah.
How do
okay.
you unban yourself?
I'm a moderator, so I can go.
Oh, okay.
That's right. We banned ourselves on our own board before.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Well, no, I'm sorry, not ban myself, but ignored myself. Push the
Oh,
ignore
I
button,
see.
and it
Okay.
says you cannot ignore yourself.
Oh, I see. Yeah, we've had this situation a couple times where we've tried to when we log into our admin account on our own site on rationalresponders.com, it keeps us logged in, and then if you get to a certain point where maybe you log out but you're still somehow on that screen, like you may be on another browser window, you're still logged in, and you actually try to access anything, we have a security program that pretty much stops
You're
anybody
already
from
logged
screwing
in.
with us. And we end up getting banned from our site permanently. And so,
That's a rock solid program.
And this is
Yes.
why I don't have admin
Yes,
privileges.
So I was every once in a while need to call Rook up at like 1 a.m. Rook, get me back into the site, man.
Because if all three of us did that somehow, we'd be screwed.
Awesome.
So until next time, Lewis, thanks so much for joining us. We will talk to you soon, man.
All right, thank you,
All
man.
right,
Take
guys,
care.
Take care and keep up the good work.
Thanks, you
buddy.
too.
The Rational Response Squad is your voice of rational thought online. Please subscribe today at www.rationalresponders.com for access to all of their shows.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us with the Rational Response Squad today. You can visit us at www.rationalresponders.com